Bring that music up. Let this play. Our nation would be a better place if we sang that song every morning. I don't know. You may think I'm totally off the reservation on that. Do you think I care anymore? I don't. I'm beyond caring what people think. And no, if we got up out of bed singing that song, those words, every day, as a nation, we would have a different country. I'm convinced of it. Just before we went to the break, what we're talking about is the city of Dallas has decided to literally clean up its act on the Pride Parade that they're going to host this Sunday. And sexual activists are very angry. They're trying to sue the city, say, no, you have to let us show all of our naughty bits. And if you don't, you hate us and you're bigot and homophobes and all the rest of it. The same thing that the activists always say. But there are some courageous people that are standing up saying this isn't good for kids, and so we're gonna make this decision. And if you don't like it, that's too bad. This is the way it's going to be, because actually this is the law. Actually, this is the law. The law is you're not supposed to be indecent in public. That's the end of story. That's just the law. So there are a couple of even open homosexuals that are on the side of the decency situation here that I've actually said thank you today on today's show. I know immediately people that think Progress just dropped over dead of shock that Kevin thanked a gay person for doing something, but I feel like it's important. If we're going to be a nation that has all these diverse things going on and there's no room for ever making any compromise on anything, well, then forget it. It's just pour gas on everything and light the flames up, because we're done. So I said thank you to those two men for taking that stand today, and the Dallas Police Department, the mayor of the city of Dallas, and whoever else had a hand in the decision to enforce decency standards for this coming Sunday's Gay Pride Parade there. But I want to go back to Michelle, who called from Virginia, because Michelle, you identified yourself in the last segment as a woman who had lived a life as a lesbian for most of your life. You raised kids, et cetera, et cetera. But you had a recent decision, and I want you to take a little more time to tell us what happened. You made a decision to change not what you said was your identity, but what was your behavior. And I want to know what was the rationale for why you made that change, because I'm very curious as to what happened in your life.
Well, basically, I always, gone to church growing up. Throughout even my relationship, I would attend church service. I've taken the kids, and I've sat there and I try to listen to the Word of God. And, the lesson was, brought to me, but there also was a lot of, to me, in certain churches, like gay bashing. And the way they was beating it and trying to put it out there, I said, well, it could be a different way. I didn't let that deter me for wanting to get to know God even more. And thank God I have an awesome, Bishop Rinaldi in Virginia, who just continued. He didn't do it an outcast. It was like, preach the word, preach the word. I sat under the word, and I decided, and I told my kids that I raised, because I got out of the relationship about 2-3 years ago. But, of course, those are my kids. I love them, and they understand. I said, I've fallen in love with God more than I fell in love with myself. So my lifestyle is not important to me to the point where I want to live ever life in heaven. That is my goal. So I took away the selfishness of what I felt and what my flesh kept saying. And it's hard. It's still a struggle. Don't think I'm on the phone saying, I no longer have feelings. No, what I'm saying is that I decided to give my life to Christ, and that is my goal. That is my goal, and every day is a step that I have to take. And my kids, they're proud of me. I have a son, and, he was in the Navy for 4 years, and now he's in college, and his actual paper he put it out there, and I'm proud of him, being raised by 2 females. And he is an awesome young man, and he tells us, you guys are my heroes. And to the day, I am his hero because I decided to give Jesus Christ, live my life for him for the rest of my life.
Well, Michelle, first of all, let me say a couple of things. One, you are to be encouraged, because I think the nuance of this argument has been way too simplified by both sides for way too long. I think too many activists look at all Christians and they say you're just a bunch of hate-filled bigots that don't care about people, and I don't think that's true. And I think that there has been a tendency by some in the political right and in the church life to say that homosexuals are in some way worse sinners than adulterers or pornographers or people that engage in flirtation at work that goes beyond the boundaries of marriage and biblically defined sexuality. So I think that there's a lot of hypocrisy and untruth on both ends of it. And I think that the truth is that whether homosexual feelings or desires or whatever those inclinations are ever proven to be biological or genetic, or whether they are entirely atmospheric and environmental in terms of how they come about to be evident in someone's life, I don't think that changes I don't think it changes the basic responsibility of the human, which is to say, God, it's not about me, it's about you. And I want to conform my will and purpose and behavior into your will and purpose and behavior. And as we do that, I think he blesses us. And so I'm not tied up into the arguments about are you born this way or are you not born this way. I have never seen 1 ounce of scientific evidence that says that there is a gene that causes genetic homosexuality. I have seen a lot of evidence that seems to say when kids are abused, when things go bad in certain ways in the home early on, that children have a greater tendency towards certain types of behavior and become more vulnerable to certain things. And because of that, I tend to, on my own, in my own strength and my own power and my own intellect, tend to think that there's a lot more human interaction with the decision for a person to live as a homosexual. But it doesn't really matter at the end of the day. Whether science backs up one or the other, the issue is still God, who he is, what he says, and how we live for him. And if we communicated that in a more clear way, I think it would do 2 things. I think it would give more hope to homosexuals that feel like, because the culture says you're trapped, therefore you must give in to everything that ever comes into your mind. I think that's a wrong message. And I think that if the church could say, hey, God isn't just a God that's saying keep rules. He's saying there's greater purpose to who you are than what you're currently living for. And if we help people unlock that, I think that they would find greater meaning in life and at the end of the day, a better life.
I continue to pray for all my sisters and brothers out there. I'm not saying I did it, and what I do, I don't bash. It's my thing. This is my testimony. I continue to pray for them. I know, I've never been influenced, and I must put it out there. 5th grade, I kissed a girl, and I don't know why. And I suppressed it because I was not raised like that. I didn't see anything. I used to be in church, and I kept that to myself until I was in high school and went to college and when I finally came out. But, it was in me, deep in me, the love of God. It was so in me that it won, and I'm just grateful it did.
Amen. Amen. That's the purpose of the cross. That's why the cross happened.
Everyone.
Yeah. All right. Thank you, Michelle. Thanks for your time. Taking a little extra to talk to us. But isn't that powerful? See, Jesus changed somebody that society has told us can't be changed. See, all the activists that are demanding that the Dallas police force let them take off all their clothes and run up and down the highways and byways of Dallas next Sunday and just be these lewd, crude, nude people, They probably, if I said, hey, call in right now, and they had heard Michelle's story, they would probably just line up all this venom for her and say she's a traitor and she can't really change, and she doesn't even know if she can fully change. All she's saying is that God doesn't really matter what I think I am. What I am is your child. What I am is someone that is supposed to follow your leading for my life in the area of sexuality. So in doing that, that means I'm not gonna do certain things. And friends, it's honest to goodness, no different than the man sitting in the third row of the Baptist church that goes to work on Monday and flirts with his secretary, or does more, or gets on the web and surfs for porn when his wife's not looking, or any number of other things. It's really no different. It's not any different. Not in God's eyes. In God's eyes, it's a misuse of sexuality that misses the mark and doesn't fulfill the need that the person's actually trying to fill with it. Ultimately, the only thing that can satisfy us is a relationship with the one who made us. It's the only thing that gives meaning. It's the only thing that fulfills. And we humans, we try to cram everything else in there and try to figure out all these other ways to satisfy it. Doesn't work. The gig is God. A couple of more calls. Dallas is cleaning up its gay pride parade this year, and they're not going to allow people to break indecency standards. Your thoughts on it? 888-589-8840. Let's go to Paul in Texas. You're up next, Paul. Welcome.
Thank you. Yeah, I wanted to first say, when you were talking about, people criticizing you and suggesting that you might be gay, that's just a shade of an old Alinsky tactic, which is, personalize your target and insult them. And for a lot of people on the left, when they're throwing the kitchen sink at you and they got a bag full of intellectual nothing, one of the last tricks they go to is, well, let me call you the very thing that you oppose. Like somehow that's going to shut you up. But anyway, it is what it is. My observation is that I think it's very good that the Dallas Police Department is going to enforce public decency laws on the streets of Dallas. Makes you wonder, what have you been waiting for up to this time? What about celebrating homosexuality made it, immune from public decency? That said, though, I think there's one advantage that will be lost, and that is if, let's say, even if nationally, gay pride parades really cleaned up. They said, you know what, we got to get rid of all these public displays of really overt sexuality right in public, etc., and really clean up our image, then more people could actually be drawn into the lifestyle because of the camouflage that's there. I have a really hard time believing that any, say, secular person who heard about a gay pride parade and took their small children down there, not really knowing, and saw some of the things one time, I think would never return again, unless they're the kind of people that go home and let their kindergartners watch porn on TV or something.
You would think that, Paul. What is astounding, and maybe it's because I've lived in larger urban centers than a lot of people that are listening today, I have seen people do exactly the opposite. I've seen people that live in urban centers say, oh, that was such a blast, we're going next year, and taking the kids. And that mentally to me doesn't even, I can't even conceive of how they justify that. It's just like I guess it's like going to the circus or something. They just view it as, and to think about it in this sense, it's really dehumanizing to the people that are in the parade. Like, you think of parades as being something that we honor people with, right? So a sports team wins a championship and we throw a parade. And our soldiers come back from battle after they've won a war, we throw a parade. It's kind of like the amusement with gay pride parades in many of these urban centers has gotten to the point where people are laughing at them. And it's dehumanizing even to them to carry on in that manner. So I don't know. I mean, I hear what you're saying. It does take away a bit of an advantage in the discussion about whether or not the parade should even happen. But I've always been an incrementalist. I've always been one that says if we can make a little bit of progress, we should try to take every bit of ground we can, and then still work for the greater for the biggest good possible. I don't think you rest on your laurels when you get them cleaned up and decent. Maybe they become so boring when they're cleaned up and decent that people stop having them. I mean, that's another possibility as well. Because if the attraction is, hey, it's this wild kind of crazy Mardi Gras nude circus thing going on, and you clean all that up, maybe it doesn't have any attraction anymore.
Yeah, no, I hadn't thought of that one.
Yeah,
good point.
All right. Well, thanks for the call. Let's see if we can squeeze in another caller or two here. Let's go to Larry in Illinois. Larry, thanks for your patience. You're on with Kevin McCullough on AFA Today. Larry, are you there?
Yes, I am, yes. Thank you for your program.
Thank you.
I am completely amazed and baffled at the way this homosexual agenda has progressed in the last many years. And I visualize it as if you put 100 people in a basketball gymnasium and you have 2 people on one end of one goal and 98 on the other end. and the two people on the far end are the homosexual persuasion, and only one of them is really what I would call militant and outspoken. And that one person is making the 98 on the other end cower and hunker down and not respond to, their agenda. And I don't understand how that one person can drive the agenda in the United States against.
It is a bit amazing to think about. I mean, and it's not totally unexplainable. I mean, there's been a lot of money that has driven the success of that agenda, but it is, just from a pure number standpoint, it does blow the mind.
Well, I think that what I'd like to see happen is the 98, instead of, cowering down and hunkering, and being afraid and retreating, approaching, going towards those individuals because we have the truth. And trying to explain to them, the error of their ways and what the truth really is in love and kindness and compassion.
What you're talking about, Larry, is, and you said it very well, is building a relationship. Look, if America's going to return to its roots, some of us in the pew Sunday morning Christians are going to have to find some gay people and actually get to know them, because they'll never hear about the love of Jesus if we don't tell them. They won't be able to be told if we don't know them. It's a tough thing, but it's something that we've got to do. Kevin McCullough, AFA Today. See you tomorrow.